Right now on the National Weather Desk, endless summer? Record high temperatures are falling again. When will fall arrive?
This start to October does seem to fit a pattern that has become more and more apparent in recent years.
Early winter? Forget fall colors. Snow is already falling at some ski resorts.
It changed so fast over the last couple of weeks that we're ready for it.
Great grapes. A cool spring means a delayed harvest for California winemakers.
Cross my fingers because we're not done with harvest.
Mountain magic. How those peaks shape our weather patterns.
On one side, you have the dense fog. On the other side, you have clear conditions.
Plus, a look at the history of meteorology.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Angela Brown. This will be another day of summer-like weather. Record high temps will fall as summer-like heat melts millions from Maine to Minnesota. Meteorologist Philippe Castro shows us how big a deal this is in Wisconsin.
Green Bay, Appleton, and Oshkosh all set record highs on Sunday. And as of Monday afternoon, Green Bay had set another record high, reaching 87 degrees just before 1 in the afternoon. Appleton had also set another record, and Oshkosh had at least tied their record. And it's not like we're expecting this warmth to go away anytime soon. Forecast highs on Tuesday and Wednesday are expected to be well above normal. And if we do reach a forecast high of 86 on Tuesday and 78 on Wednesday, it will leave us with an average high across those 4 days of 84.8 degrees. That would be the hottest start to an October on record, running more than 20 degrees above the normal average high to start the month. And we have seen this trend play out over the long-term trend too. This chart from Climate Central shows that over the last 50 years or so, the fall season has seen a larger increase in average temperature than both spring and summer. It's second only to winter. And while that doesn't mean we'll be smashing record highs every day this month, this start to October does seem to fit a pattern that has become more and more apparent in recent years.
Well, the end of September means hurricane season's busiest month is now behind us, but don't sleep on October. While just 19 hurricanes have made landfall in October since 1950, 5 have come in the last 7 years. Since 2016, Matthew, Nate, Michael, Delta, and Zeta all made landfall in October. A 7th hurricane, Nicole, made landfall last November. It was the first hurricane to make landfall in the U.S. since 1985 and just the 4th on record. But experts say this year's extremely high sea surface temperatures could lead to more storms developing late in the season. El Nino was supposed to bring strong upper-level winds in the Atlantic, suppressing hurricane activity, but El Nino has been slow to develop, raising the risk of more hurricanes. As one scientist put us, we are in uncharted waters. Philippe is the only storm in the Atlantic this morning. Tropical storm warnings are posted for the islands of Barbuda and Antigua and Gilliam, with a tropical storm watch for the British Virgin Islands. It's now moving north, where it could be threatening Bermuda by the end of the week. In California, a cool spring means a late harvest season for winemakers. Usually they would already be finishing up the process, but a stretch of warm weather ahead turns out to be a good thing for growers. Marcela de la Cruz has more on the recently started harvest.
A late season in wine country.
The longer that's on there, and you are risking other stuff happening like fires or frost, but we've been very lucky so far.
Had a few winemakers on edge this year.
Cross my fingers because we're not done with harvest. Has been the perfect harvest so far, I would say. We haven't, knock on wood, dealt with any fires in this area where the smoke has affected us.
As a wet winter and relatively cool summer delayed the ripening process.
It's been a really good harvest so far, and we're excited to see how these wines turn out. I think we're going to have some really good ones this year.
Leading to a steady and careful process this year.
This harvest has been really great because we'll get the right amount of tonnage each day. So we're working a great pace each day instead of just a ton all coming in at the same time.
And one that's promising a good batch of wine.
But right now, it's actually been kind of nice that it's coming in a little bit later. It gives us time here at this side of the house, to fully go through primary fermentation. And then we're not rushing stuff, pressing things a little earlier to make tank space.
And now to West Virginia and an interesting fact. The state sees the most forest fires in the spring, but historically the worst and biggest fires happen in the fall. That's why outdoor burning restrictions are in place. Bob Aaron outlines the reasons why.
Worst seasons have been in the fall, like in '87 and 1991. We burned over 500,000 acres in the state both those seasons.
October 1st triggered a ban on outdoor burning in West Virginia from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Burning during legal hours requires a 10-foot safety strip around the fire, clear of brush and debris. Fall fire season in West Virginia runs through December 31st. Fall's low humidity adds to fire risks. So far into the season, only a moderate risk of fires. Could we see community-destroying forest fires like Hawaii, California, and Tennessee experienced? Yes, but it would take some extreme weather first.
We could have a situation the same as what they had in Gatlinburg a few years ago. It was almost that critical here at that time. We just lucked out and got a little bit more moisture than they did. It's all weather related.
This hot, dry week may increase fire danger, but some of the greatest concerns will be in November when the leaves are off the trees. Without any canopy, the forest floor dries out and can easily catch on fire. Common sense, don't burn when it's very dry and windy, even in legal hours, and rain may be the best defenses.
Here in the east, we have as much fire currents as they do out west. We don't burn as much acreage, but nonetheless, it is just as risky.
Debris burning that gets out of control, power lines, and arson are the leading causes of forest fires in southern West Virginia.
Winter is playing peekaboo in Utah while fall leaves are still around. But this early show of fresh snow is exactly what ski resort operators and powder hounds want to see. It probably won't stick around for long, though. But resort officials say it's bound to get people hyped about the upcoming ski season. Paul Nilsson has reaction from Brighton Ski Resort.
Skiers like Hayden Johnson are eager to print out their season pass at Brighton Ski Resort, even though the season hasn't started yet.
I bought it back in June. So I've been excited ever since last season stopped. We didn't finish last season on a full note, so we've been antsy to go.
Some analysts say a great ski season one year will lead to higher visitation the following year. And based on last winter's snow totals, Johnson predicts a lot of people will be on the slopes as soon as possible.
I think a lot of people are excited to go snowboarding or skiing or whatever you like to do up here.
Unfortunately for the people at Brighton, this snow is likely to melt in the next few days, so they're not even measuring it for their yearly totals.
It changed so fast over the last couple of weeks that we're ready for it.
Brighton Director of Marketing Jared Winkler says they still have some construction projects that are ongoing, and the early snow is a reminder they need to hurry and finish.
We've all seen it before, some big storms in October that won't melt off, and working through snow isn't that fun when you're working outside, so unless you're working in the ski business.
In the meantime, Winkler says they still have fall activities lined up. This Saturday will be the last time they take people up the ski lifts to see the fall foliage.
There's one last opportunity for people to enjoy the summer, and then we're going to be 100% focused on the winter after that.
Before snow falls in most parts of the country, we get to enjoy the fall foliage. Here's a look at where the colors stand, courtesy of the fallfoliagereport.com. We start in the Northeast, where most places except for the coastline have low to moderate color, and the Mid-Atlantic low color is showing throughout the Appalachian Mountains. In the Midwest, a lack of rain this summer means peak colors are out in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan. It's mostly quiet in the Southeast. The same story in the Southwest, except for the mountains or of northern New Mexico. But it's the western states where you will find the most fall foliage right now. Every one of these 9 states has some peak colors. So now is the time to get out and really enjoy the season. Threatened oysters now have a better chance off the coast of northern England. A team of conservationists deposited over 750 tons of old stones and scallop shells onto a seabed that formed a new underwater marine ecosystem. Officials say that they are optimistic that oysters there will thrive and grow over the coming months. And also coming up on the National Weather Desk, we'll head to Maine to check in on this year's pumpkin crop, and we look at some of the ways mountains can impact weather, and some may actually surprise you. That's coming up.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with Look at the Northeast. The big story in the Northeast today will be the warm-up. Most towns top out in the low to mid-80s. We'll have elevated humidity for change. It's going to feel like summer this first week in October. Notice a lot of sunshine as well. Look for a mostly sunny sky or a day filled with sun. That's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Temps low to mid-80s here. Now, as we head into Wednesday, coastal areas may start to see a little bit of fog try to develop. Temperatures look warm again, with most communities in the 70s and low 80s.
I'm meteorologist Jonathan Myers, and here's a look at the Mid-Atlantic region. Temperatures going to be starting off generally in the 60s through about 9 a.m. By lunchtime, look at these warm temperatures well into the 70s, probably about 80 or so, maybe even 80 to 85 in the warm spots for high temperatures on our Tuesday, and that's going to be under ample sunshine. Fair weather high pressure is our latest weather maker. That stays with us much of the week. Our next weather maker out toward Denver, Colorado, that's a strong cold front, makes it a lot cooler by the weekend. That's the scene here.
Here's a look at your southeast forecast highs for the day. I'm meteorologist Vitas Reed. We're looking at 84 in Atlanta, a comfortable day, as well as Raleigh, 81, 83 in Charleston, 90 a little hotter towards Mobile, 90 in Tupelo, 89 in Nashville. High pressure still keeping it mainly dry across much of the southeast. Looking at a frontal boundaries pushing south of Miami, there still could be a few spotty showers with that northeasterly flow, but for the most part, the Carolinas and Georgia looking nice and sunny.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
The science of meteorology is old, really old. In fact, many credit Aristotle as the father of meteorology. Emily Gracie spoke to a science historian to find out the roots of meteorology and how it has evolved over the years.
Well, of course, at the time of Aristotle, meteorology was a sort of an all-term catch-all for earth science. So Aristotle was not a person who did experiments, but he was a person who observed. And of course, if you're looking at ships that are sailing, which they were certainly around Athens on the water, then winds become important, for instance, right? So there was considerable interest in how the atmosphere worked and what that meant for being able to grow crops or sail vessels or those kinds of things. So you do see that early interest in what was going on around in the atmosphere, but it certainly wasn't a situation where people were making daily or hourly recordings and had any kind of scales to work with. So it was very qualitative.
And he came up with the term meteorology?
Right. Well, because it was, and then like I said, it wasn't just focused on the atmosphere at that point. I mean, it included earthquakes and volcanoes and everything else that was kind of earth sciencey at the time.
How did meteorology evolve from that point?
Well, it didn't evolve really fast. Let's put it that way. So we don't see the ability to take measurements of any kind until much later. And so it takes several centuries before we have the equipment to be able to do quantitative measurements. But earlier than that, in the time of Francis Bacon, for instance, he's encouraging people to make note of the kinds of weather events that they see. And so you have people in diaries recording. We had rain, it was windy, it was blowing from this direction, it was a cloudy day, it was an okay day. Over time, we have more physics that's involved, but we don't really see physics involved in meteorology on a scientific level until early part of the 20th century.
To hear more from Dr. Harper, including the role people play in the future of meteorology, check out our podcast, Off the Radar. This week, we will also be taking a look back at the weather moments that defined our first year on the air right here at the National Weather Desk. Find Off the Radar anywhere you listen to your podcast. You know, we talk a lot about how different weather phenomena occur, but major factors when it comes to weather can be the mountains. We all know about temperatures dropping at higher elevations, but the mountains can impact weather in several other ways. Meteorologist Evan Chukbara explains.
Well, here's a look at Bald Rock. This is out in Alabama, in St. Clair County. Beautiful out there, right? Well, this was just the other day in Bald Rock. Same exact view, similar time, but take a look at this. A blanket, a bank of fog coming up one side of the mountain, but doing something odd on the other side. We're completely clear. So how on earth does this happen? Believe it or not, mountains have a huge play a huge role in a lot of weather phenomena that take place here. Let's talk about this. Cooler air is more dense, right? So naturally it sinks. It's going to be in the lower areas, in valleys, low-lying areas. And as it evaporates, it condenses quicker. So you get a very moist air mass situated right up against a mountain chain, or one lone mountain in this case, and it condenses. You form these really dense fog banks. On the flip side, as this air goes up and over the mountain, it warms and it dries. So as it's descending down the other side of the mountain, it actually evaporates. And so on one side, you have the dense fog. On the other side, you have clear conditions. Just another example of how mountains can play a role. And if you look at the map here, we look at our dense fog days here on average during a year. Of course, coastal locations have a lot of fog, but take a look at where we see a lot of our fog days. Mountainous areas. You ever been to the Smoky Mountains? They get that nickname because it looks smoky. It's that same process, that upslope fog, that orographic lift. You get a ton of those days here right in the middle of the Appalachian Mountains all the way up into Maine. Pretty cool to see that here locally. That's how it works. I'm meteorologist Evan Chukbara.
October is here. Some farms opened early, getting a jump start on fall fun and all it has to offer, from hay rides to corn mazes. Some farms are open to celebrate pumpkin season, and others will follow suit soon after. Meteorologist Ryan Munn has the latest on the fall season in Maine.
Windy Hill Farm Market here in Gorham has already opened up their pumpkin patch for the season, and Ron Winship, the owner of the farm, says that while the wet weather has had an impact on the pumpkins this season, at least the amount of pumpkins, they still have plenty to go around. You can pick your own, or you can stop at the farm stand out front to grab one, and they have around 10 different varieties of pumpkins, all that range from 50 to 60 pounds all the way down to around 1 pound.
In the beginning, when the pumpkins are all covered with vines, you can't see the pumpkins. And then like now, the leaves are going down and you see more of the pumpkins. So it's neat. I love pumpkins. I always have.
Isn't that nice? Let's head to Wisconsin now, where mountain bikers are taking to the woods at a new recreational area that allows them to take in the beauty of the fall foliage up close. Eric Peterson has more.
This is our newest playground out here. I try and ride out here at least once a week.
Marinette Area Mountain Bike Association member Renee Ostler is talking about the 11.5 miles that make up Strong Falls trails.
It's just a pristine spot of land. There's so many rolling hills, there's vistas, there's rocks like you wouldn't believe.
The trails have been open since June.
Oh, it's definitely a release, yeah.
Chuck Mistark says biking these trails is exciting.
It's a nice flowy trail. There's a lot of options. You can ride over rocks or you can avoid them, either way.
David Giebler says people can hike, walk, or even run the course.
It's just a wonderful place for training. If you've got an event, like if you want to run a marathon or something, you could come out here and practice. It gives you a variety of terrain.
That terrain is surrounded by about 5,000 acres of Marinette County forest land. Facilities and Parks Director Martin Keyport says there's plenty of room for silent sports.
And to give folks a variety of things to do in our county.
Chuck Mistark agrees. He says the view from his helmet cam is tough to top.
Oh yeah, I went over some rocks and jumps and things like that, so try to get a little speed going. And
The United Nations marks the first Monday in October as World Habitat Day. Volunteers at Myrtle Beach, South Carolina celebrated yesterday with a cleanup at local parks.
I am a huge fan of the beach, of course. Lived here all my life. I love being out here. My little boy loves it. So why not continue to make it, clean and also safe.
World Habitat Day has been celebrated since 1986. The UN recognizes this day as a time to reflect on the state of our habitats, the power and the responsibility of humans to shape the future of where we live, and the basic rights for everyone to have adequate shelter. And before we take a short break, we take flight over Miami Beach.
Well, a very good Tuesday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buck-Michael. Rain moving its way in across the plains. That'll continue moving its way east, so we are dealing with a lot of sunshine out ahead of that for the day today. And temps pretty warm in the 80s, all the way up even to Green Bay and Minneapolis. Cooler weather will be moving in behind this rain, though, so still in the 80s for the Ohio Valley tomorrow with that rain moving closer, and then cooling down as we head into the end of the week with that rain continuing to blast in this cooler air.
Good morning, I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia. Here's a look at your regional weather. We're starting off a little warm, a little humid down toward the south, much cooler if you're back up in the north. Over in Oklahoma, we'll be watching a cold front as it makes its way across the northern part of the region today. Areas of showers, maybe some big thunderstorms could be popping up from Oklahoma back up into North Texas. Otherwise, temperatures are going to be warming up, just summertime levels to the south. They'll be rain cooled up toward the north. I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia. That's a look at your regional weather.
Well, hi there, everybody, and a good Tuesday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell. Out west, we've got a lot of sunshine in the desert and all the way back toward the California coastline, a perfect 74 by the Golden Gate Bridge. Getting cool out of Salt Lake City, just 54 there near the Great Salt Lake today. Bouncing back in the Pacific Northwest with some sunshine for Seattle and Portland. Current weather maker, this long front that's marching toward the midsection of the country today. And that's the scene from here.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
Some folks are hitting the road to take in fall colors. Here's the scene in part of Utah. Brilliant bundles of changing oranges and reds along with steady greens on the Monte Cristo Scenic Drive. Also in Utah, the sky put on a display of rainbows and double rainbows after recent rainfall.
Listen to Off the Radar, new episodes every Tuesday. Find it wherever you get your podcasts.
Our team of meteorologists across the country post a ton of great weather content online. Let's check out a recent TikTok post from meteorologist Natalie Walters explaining cold air funnels.
What is a cold air funnel? Well, here's an example of one right here. So it looks like a typical funnel cloud, but it is very weak, it is short-lived, and very rarely touches down. Now, these typically occur where we have an area of low pressure, we'll have warmer air at the surface and much colder air aloft. Now, for the most part, these are going to be harmless, but on the rare occasion that one would touch down, it could have winds up to around 85 miles per hour, which would be equivalent of around an EF0 tornado.
If you want to see more content like this, be sure to follow us on social media. You can find us on all your favorite platforms. Just search the National Weather Desk. We'll be right back. And thank you so much for joining us. Tomorrow on the National Weather Desk, we get an inside look at the October salmon spawning season in Wisconsin. I'm Angela Brown. Make it a great Tuesday, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.